So now we're going to be in section 2. And this is going to discuss Western Europe, the history of the region, modern history, and the culture of Western Europe. So France and Germany are the main dominant countries in Western Europe. French culture is strong in France and Monaco. German culture is strong in Germany, Austria, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, and the Benelux countries have their own cultures, but have been influenced by both France and Germany. And the Benelux countries are Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And so, France and Germany are the main countries we're going to be talking about, but they have an impact on some of these other regions as well. Let me see what that date is. In 50 BC, the Roman Empire had conquered the Celtic tribes in what is now France. French is one of the Romanic languages, and basically, it's what's known as the Romance languages. These are the languages that are going to evolve from Latin, because what happens is you see that Latin starts off in Rome. That's the language of Rome. And as the Roman Empire falls and people start moving different locations, they start spreading their languages. Where you have this area starts talking a little bit different than this other area, and they start to kind of turn into a number of different ones. The Western and Eastern Roman empires have different traits, whether it's Romanian in the Eastern Roman Empire. In the Western, you're going to have Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese that's going to develop from this area. Although Rome never conquered all the Germanic tribes that migrated into France, they still spoke German. In the late 700s, a Germanic king named Charlemagne conquered most of this region, but after his death, his empire began to fall. And after his death, Western Europe remained small competing kingdoms. So you see that he conquered most of this region, but then what happens is once he dies, the places start kind of going back their own different way. The areas he didn't take over, of course, they continue their traditions, and you're going to have small competing kingdoms instead. In 1517, Martin Luther published 95 statements criticizing church practices in the Catholic Church. Now, this is not Martin Luther King. This is Martin Luther, the Germanic priest. He was a German priest, criticizing the Catholic Church that he believed they were wrong. Now, that Martin Luther never intended on starting his own movement. He basically just wanted to see reform in the Catholic Church. And so what happened is he nails what's called the 95 Theses. Like, he literally nails this to the door of Wittenberg Church in Germany. And it's like, look, these are the problems I have. Boom, boom, boom. Put it on the wall. The Pope's like, if the dude has a problem, he can get out. So they excommunicate him from the church. From this, the Protestant Reformation is formed. So anyone that is watching this, if your religious beliefs align up with the Baptist, Methodist, Church of God, Church of Christ, a lot of non-denominational churches, things like that, that derives from the Protestant movement. That is a Protestant Christian. If you're not Catholic or Eastern Orthodox, you are usually Protestant. So this led to the Protestant Reformation, or a period where many Christians broke away from the Catholic Church and started Protestant churches. The Lutheran Church was the first one of this, of course, named after Martin Luther. Mutual hostility would lead Catholics and Protestants to fight religious wars that would tear Europe apart. This is going to lead to a period of wars where the Protestants and the Catholics are going to be fighting each other. And if your king is a Protestant, chances are the Catholics are persecuted in your country. If your king is Catholic, then the Protestants probably are. And this is going to lead to a lot of division, a lot of intermarrying among different kingdoms. If, hey, they got a Catholic daughter, my son's going to marry their Catholic daughter, join our kingdoms together, and it's going to be super Catholic. Or, well, they got a Protestant daughter, and my son's going to marry their Protestant daughter, and it's going to be a super Protestant kingdom. That's kind of the mentality. Feudalism is a political system in which lords own most of the land. Now, the lords would own the land, and they would have vassals that would work for them. These are people that would work for them to live on the land. Usually they give them a small area of the land in return for them working on the land, providing them with crops and different things like that, protecting the land. It's going to get to the point where it's hard for the vassals to protect the land also. And so in this situation, they're going to start getting people that are going to become knights that are going to protect their area. And that's their job. Their job is they give them a little bit of land, and in return, they protect their area of land. Nationalism is the belief that people should be loyal to their nation. It also causes groups to want their own countries, so it contributes to the rise of the modern nation states. Nationalism is the idea of you need to be loyal to your country. You need to be loyal to your nation above all the rest. It's not a globalist mentality. It's a nationalist mentality. I don't care what's going on in France. I worry about what's going on in my country. I don't care what's going on in Germany. I worry about what's going on in my country. That's the idea of nationalism. By the late 1600s, French kings had absolute power, but in 1789, the people started a rebellion. Between the 1600s and until 1945, wars broke out between France and Austria, or France and the German states. Of course, that's going to be leading up to the end of World War II. Western Europe also experienced industrial growth in the 1800s with the European Industrial Revolution, which is similar to the American Industrial Revolution, just in Europe. The competition for colonies among European nations helped cause World War I. The Allied powers won and imposed harsh terms on Germany, which would help lead to World War II. Basically, what happens at the end of World War I is they go to the table to come up with a treaty, and Germany's like, I don't like this idea. And they're like, Germany, you ain't going to say anything. You lost the war. So just sit there and be quiet. They really didn't even allow them to come to the table. And so Germany is left owing a lot of war debt, having a lot of dead soldiers, having a lot of destroyed property, basically a point of living subhuman standards. And this is going to lead to the rise of a charismatic new leader named Adolf Hitler, who's going to wind up leading Germany into World War II. And he uses this mentality of, well, we've suffered and the Western powers have left us here to die and all this kind of stuff to rally people behind his movement, which was the Nazi Party. They took over control, and this is what's going to lead to World War II. It's also, the Holocaust is also a part of World War II, a program of mass murder of 2/3 of European Jews and the murder of other minorities. There was 6 million Jews killed, over 7 million people killed that were of other races, people that were disabled. There was, in addition to the mass murder of the Jews. And the Berlin Wall was a wall that divided Germany in two. Of course, it came down at the end of the Soviet Union. The early economy was based on agriculture. Western Europe played a leader because of it was rich in coal and iron ore. High-tech and service industries play a large part of Western Europe's economy today, like it does in all the rest of the world. And we talked about this, I believe, in Chapter 4, that a service economy is when someone provides a service instead of a product. So, you have your bloggers, your YouTube stars, celebrities, movie stars, athletes, teachers, doctors, lawyers. People that are providing a service are in the service industry. Western Europe is popular with tourists because of its varied scenery, mild climates, historic sites. Western Europe exports luxury items such as German cars and Swiss watches. France is known for fashion and food. So here's some of the things that these countries are known for. Germany and Austria are famous for music, such as Johann Sebastian Bach, who was German, and Ludwig van Beethoven, who wrote music after going deaf. Austrian composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was a child genius. And France and the Netherlands have many painters such as Jan van Eyck, Dutch painters such as Jan Vermeer, and Rembrandt were also included, as were French painter Claude Monet. So a lot of these different painters and musicians contribute to the culture and the history of this part of Europe. Europeans live in smaller houses than Americans do. One difference in Europeans and Americans is that Europeans receive more vacation time than Americans do. Germans have about 30 vacation days a year on average, and and usually Americans don't have near that much. Immigration continues to be a problem in Western Europe. Especially in recent years, you have an influx of refugees coming in, and it's a lot of different religions, a lot of different views, a lot of different cultures, and sometimes you have some clashing. You have people that are that wind up, you know, being killed, people that wind up changing the culture around them, and so immigration is a good thing and a bad thing. It depends on what type of immigrants come in. It depends on what they do. Some people take advantage of the system, but in whole, immigration is a good thing, especially when people that are refugees are trying to find a better life. And that's going to lead to the end of Section 2's notes, where we discuss Western Europe.